Hello, welcome everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to start the meeting.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Councilmember Daniele?
Present.
Councilmember Istvan?
Here.
Supervisor Alba?
Here.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Councilmember Rye?
Here. Everybody okay with the agenda? Make a motion to accept it?
I had a couple of tweaks.
Go on.
Presentation, we're omitting number 2.
Okay.
And under discussions, number 6, we need to move that to second meeting in October.
Okay, Greg, Cooper, could you put that second meeting in October?
You got it.
Anybody else got any, so make a number 3?
That's a resolution.
Which one? Lights? What do you want to do with that? It's on the discussion.
Yeah.
We can do the resolution later, right?
Anything?
No,
Any questions?
No, we can table the resolution at the end.
Yeah. All right, so I'll make a motion to amend the agenda as prescribed. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We don't have any minutes. Next up is a public hearing regarding local law amending Town Chapter 15 Ethics Code to add new section 15-3 I. Make a motion to open up the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
So this is the opportunity for the citizens to speak up about the public hearing, local law amending the Town Code Chapter 15 Ethics. Any takers? Sir?
Hi, good evening. My name is Keith Riley, co-president of the Friends of Fishkill Supply Depot. I'm here to speak in support of the resolution to require elected officials to complete ethics disclosure forms. I will cite 2 actions taken by Councilman Foreman that, in my opinion, are ethics violations that perhaps this resolution can fix. Last month, we learned that Councilman Foreman received a campaign donation from the developer of Continental Commons for the amount of $250 that was never disclosed to the public. As an elected member of the town board, Mr. Foreman then hastily voted to reject an appeal of a judge's ruling in favor of Continental Commons, and then immediately voted to approve water and sewer in October of 2022. Without full disclosure of campaign donations, it now gives the appearance that Mr. Foreman's vote was tainted by receiving money from the developer, Dominic Broccoli, and appears to be an ethics violation. Another recent example of ethics violations is when the public learned that Continental Commons exceeded water capacity, the Friends of the Fishkill Supply Depot created a petition protected under the First Amendment seeking to reverse the ruling. Now we have learned that Councilman Foreman has been contacting Fishkill voters who signed the list and seems to be trying to do the bidding for Continental Commons. Now, if an elected official shows up at my door for signing a petition that he disagrees with, I feel that this is voter intimidation. Now, I live in East Fishkill, but since I've been named co-president, I've been asked by numerous people who live in Fishkill to speak on behalf of the taxpayers. The reason that they don't want to speak at meetings is out of fear of this type of intimidation by elected officials and the threats of lawsuits by developers. It is my hope that the passage of tonight's ethics resolution will help reassure the voters of Fishkill that they can participate in town issues without fear of intimidation and retribution. This past summer, I became employed by the New York State Parks Department as a seasonal worker, as a trail steward. Part of my job was to attend an ethics training seminar. There I was told I'm not even to accept a bottle of water by the public because it would give the appearance of favoritism. New York State Parks understands to keep the public trust, all members must have high ethical standards. With the passage of tonight's ethics resolution, Fishkill elected officials can show they truly respect the proper public conduct, and hopefully we can help regain the confidence in local government. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else? Ms. Gadsden?
Kenya Gadsden. So I am in support of the ethics code. to be added, 15-3I, for the same reasons that this gentleman presented before us. In addition to that, I think that we deserve transparency, and sometimes when we're involved in more things than we should be, we can't keep track of the things that we are doing. And so different organizations, their values and stuff like that may clash or may cause concern. There is a lot of concern about the transparency or lack thereof of, unfortunately, Councilmember Foreman on where he lives and things that he's done in the past in terms of just gifting a friend $80,000+ in a contract. And so I think that if we have this form and this format to follow, I think it would be better for every person that is serving to be able to follow the rules and regulations and guidelines, or just be reminded that there are rules, regulations, and guidelines. I think in the past, things were done and people weren't challenged, they weren't put on the spot to show up, and I think that the taxpayers have come to a point where they are paying attention, they want to know, and there's no reason for any secrecy, so I'm in support of it, and I hope that everyone else is. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, I just want to also voice that I support the ethics code to add section 15-3I. I won't name anyone in particular. I just think that it is a good idea for anyone, especially in these times of lack of trust of our elected officials, and that's on local, national, state levels. I think on whatever side of the aisle you sit, or in the middle, like me, there is a lack of trust. And I don't want to feel like I have to go and research, although I do some research on individuals, but I don't feel like I should have to find, any kind of trickery, or if there's something going on behind closed doors. I want to know where our elected officials stand, where their relationships are, and I do think that this is a good idea across the board, and I would say that if someone is opposed to doing this ethics code, I have to question their ethics. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak on this public hearing? Any board members would like to speak about it?
Are they speaking?
Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I didn't know if they were going first.
Go on.
No, thanks. The disclosure form was not added to the agenda packet. I spoke to Mr. Gabber about it. It was just an oversight, so he advised that the public hearing can go on and we can vote on the ethics portion of it, and then at the next meeting, the actual disclosure form will be attached to it, and then we can vote at the next forum on approving the disclosure form itself. As an elected official, I don't like people knowing all of my personal business, but since the new board members have come on board, I see that it is definitely needed because of the lack of transparency that we have seen from both Councilmember Foreman and Rye. Councilmember Foreman failed to disclose up front that he hired his former employer, who was also his friend, for an over $80,000 workers' compensation insurance contract. And when this was questioned, he did not provide full disclosure, or originally abstained from a vote or for the renewal vote for the same person and the same firm. Some constituents still continue to ask me about Councilmember Foreman's legal residence, and if he truly is in the town of Fishkill, or instead in the town of East Fishkill in Sylvan Lake. Hopefully, a completed disclosure form will help clarify that, and also clarify the place of his employment. As for Councilmember Rye, we have gone through this previously, that he failed to disclose that he was on a political action committee before voting on Continental Commons' issue of appealing the court decision or not. If we are public servants, the public is entitled to know the truth, and we have an obligation to disclose information to them and properly abstain when necessary. That's why I have no problem now filling out the new disclosure form and making sure it is filled out as soon as it is enacted, so that people can see for themselves if we are transparent or not as we move forward with other votes. Councilmember Istvan has shown his counterparts how to be transparent and disclose information and then vote on matters that he did not have a conflict with, but at least disclose it up front.
Anybody else like to speak?
Yep.
Go on, Councilman.
So it is September of election season, and I see all of my fans are out there. So as far as the disclosure form, as a county legislator for 12 years, I had to fill out one of these forms that are about 3 times as comprehensive as this one is. So I don't really know what you guys are fishing for. You accuse me of not living in Fishkill. The supervisor stopped at my landlord's house. Didn't have any questions for her about, I think she told him that I lived there, but that's your little games you want to play, go right ahead. As far as contacting the people who sign these petitions, I contacted 2 residents. 2 of them are here tonight. Our supervisor was sending out serious, damaging messages that we have no water for the Blodgett Water District, and people are concerned about capacity and the cost, and I wanted to make sure that the residents knew what I knew as a town board member. Now, I didn't knock on the O'Malley's doors about campaigning, which I could have, but I didn't. It was just clearly letting them know what I know, what we found out from our engineers here in town, what we found out from the village of Fishkill about how much water they have. Regardless of your feeling on Continental Commons or the lawsuit that we lost, I wanted everybody to know that there is plenty of water and you have nothing to worry about. So, you know, if you don't like the way I do, you know, that's tough. But I wanted the people to know.
It's a public hearing. You can speak at the...
So, I'm done.
Time. Councilwoman?
Well, I just wanted to, since I spoke about what he just said, I just want to reiterate that I was the one who changed the wording to legal residence, where you legally reside. So staying in a room in someone's house to use their address as your own does not constitute legal residency. If you rent, then you could produce a lease from the first day you have been there and on the board to show that the woman who owns the house is claiming your rent as it is.
This has nothing to do with...
I'm still speaking, Carmine. This is about...
This is campaign stuff. If you guys
Excuse
want to
me,
start...
Carmine.
No, this is not the place for it.
I am
We're
not
trying
done
to
talking,
legislate.
and we're talking about a really important issue, which is called transparency. It's on the agenda. We're talking about filling out a form and telling the truth on the form. So I'm almost done with what I'm saying. And if you rent, then you should be able to produce a lease from the first day you have been on the board to show that the woman who owns the house is claiming your rent as income, which would then go towards your town taxes. So if you want to really prove to the people, you have the opportunity to. Otherwise, it is a valid question for people to ask, because being on this seat is a privilege, and it's a privilege for people who legally reside in our town. So if you don't, then you shouldn't be here. If you do, then you shouldn't have a problem proving to the people
I don't have
that
any
you do.
problems. Louise, you know, you're retired from the state police. You know what the word evidence is? You know what that means? You don't have any evidence
if you're
that I don't live here or there.
When you speak to
So
me...
why don't you bring some evidence
You
and
can
then come back at me?
change your
Point of
tone.
order. Really, Louise?
The point of order is the tone that you speak to me in, so I just calmly said what my issue was.
Okay.
When you learn how to speak to me as a
Evidence.
woman, you can then ask me the question, you know, so... No, sir, so that's it. When you learn how to speak to me as a woman, you can ask me a question. When you talk to me in a tone like that, it shows your disregard for not only me as a woman, but everybody else that is a Town of Fishkill legal resident. So if you want to prove it to them, feel free to. I have what I feel is the right answer, but anybody else can figure it out for themselves.
Are we boring you, Mr. Foreman?
Paul, Mr. Gilbert, no more. Nobody, you have your time and opportunity to speak about the privilege of the floor items. Go on, Carmen.
I'd like to approve this tonight, so we can put this to bed. The form is great.
We can't.
We have to
It
keep
has-
this open?
it has to
Why
be-
can't we add it to the
because-
agenda?
You're supposed to have it posted.
Attached to the agenda.
And not attached to the local law, just posted to
On the agenda packet.
Part of the agenda package.
We can do it
Do it
next
at the
week.
next meeting.
Okay.
But the local law can be
Right.
adopted tonight.
Okay.
And, you guys do what you want as far as that goes, but the public hearing is to discuss the local law. I'd suggest that you'd be better served if you limit your comments as much as possible to the contents of the local law and whether you're for it or against it. I think you're getting a little off track here.
I agree. That's why I call the point of order.
Just to go back to the capacity issue, the Blodgett Water District does not have capacity. Mr. Foreman is stating that he can get water in another district. So he's trying to use a little double talk here. Right now, there is no capacity in the Blodgett Water District. What he's telling you is they can get water somewhere else, which we could either buy more water from the village or combine the Blodgett and Glenham Water Districts together to give them the capacity. But right now, there is no capacity.
The definition of capacity is the maximum amount that something can contain. Okay? There is plenty of water, Ozzy.
There is plenty of
I
water.
know you don't like to admit it.
Oh, my God, don't scream at
Paul,
us, please.
Paul, I have to ask you to leave, Paul.
Point of order.
So, yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, that's the third time.
But the Blodgett Water District does not have the capacity. And there is plenty of water to get it from another district. That's the facts.
So the fact is that there isn't capacity for the project right now, but there is water in the village for, at some point, if you need to give more water to that project, you can, but we're not at that point now. But the fact is, currently, they do not have capacity.
All right. Anybody, last call on this, speaking for this, which law are we on here? The ethics law. Go on. It's got to be related to the ethics, nothing else.
Ethics in general, yeah.
Ethics.
Absolutely.
Ethics.
Well, something to say that there's definitely a board member that has shown quite a bit of ethics. I know Carmine came and talked to us as people. I want to just publicly thank him. We may not see eye to eye on everything, but there's definitely a board member that actually took the time, came to the Friends of the Fishkill Supply Depot, spoke to us like human beings, and I think that we have some common ground. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. Nice. Russ? Annette? Okay. All right. Make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next public hearing is proposed local law amending Chapter 65, explosive and combustibles. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have a second?
I think it's open. Are we continuing it? It
Is
was a
open or we
continuation.
continued it? What do we do?
I think we continue.
Yeah, it's a continuation.
Open the
Wanted
continuation.
to add that language,
Yes,
which we've now
exactly.
added.
Right.
But other
So
than
it's
that,
just-
the law is exactly the same. The
You're right.
difference is that now it's going to go to the water and sewer providers, notice of
Correct.
an application. Well, it's the only difference.
That was it. Yeah, so we opened it last time, Supervisor. This is a continuation of it for the one word change, which he did.
Do I have to make a motion to open up again, or?
You could just announce it. I don't think you need a resolution on it. We're just opening the public, continuing the public hearing as scheduled.
Okay, make a motion to continue the public hearing on this. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody wish to speak about blasting? Russ?
Russell Melly, 14209. Again, I've commended in the past. I just wanted to commend everyone involved that all the work that was put into this proposed law. But I just had a question. On page 15D, it says, "A complaint from a property owner within 1,000 feet of the blast site that blasting has caused property damage, which the fire inspector is able to verify, shall be grounds for issuance of a stop work order." If this project, if the blasting was a one-day blasting and damages, what's the course follows? And what would, I mean, if you, what would be a stop work order involved? If you stopped the blasting, if it was a one-day and then damage happened, what course would you follow? What would be the next step? Would you, that might, it would have
Well,
to
if
be a
the
good...
blasting was over, there isn't very much that could be done. A stop
Right,
work order
then they-
wouldn't accomplish
then would
much.
have to be law...
Of course, if it was the same day and you got the complaint, you could verify.
Oh, but then,
you
of
could-
course, the person would follow would have to be a legal thing, situation.
I'm sorry.
If, of course, that would follow in the future would have to be a legal thing, maybe, you know, as far as seeking lawsuits or
That's
you know,
right. And there's a
reps.
provision in the code amendment which specifically provides for strict liability for any damage
Right,
resulting from
that's what I wanted
blasting.
to
So there would be a civil suit. The property owner would have to bring that on their own, I'm afraid.
Right, that's just what I wanted to clarify.
But if
Thank
there
you.
was a violation of the permit that had been issued, then the town could pursue, penalties against the blaster who violated his permit.
Understood. All right, thanks, I just wanted to clarify.
Anybody else? Any board members? Louise,
No.
you good?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is a presentation for the Center of Prevention of Child Abuse. Ladies? Hello.
Can I just say a couple of words about these
course.
two in the center?
Of course.
Before you get started, before you introduce yourself. Shannon McGurk, who's not here, did I pronounce that correct? McGurk. Director of Programs. I always ran into her at a lot of different things, at the chamber, different things, where you guys have representation, and everybody has gotten to know how important your organization is. I went to your big fundraiser ball one year, a couple of years ago, and that was really cool, and huge support, and we know that there's a movie out there now that's really bringing spotlight to a lot of different things that you guys work on, which is, it's an unfortunate decay in society in a big way that service has to be there, but you guys are doing that important work. And while Shannon was sick, I was looking forward to her being here, but I know Jessica Ferrantino and Jessica Wexler, it's the Jessica and Jessica show. So you guys take it from here.
Thank you, Brian. Ladies?
Thank you. Okay. So I'm Jessica Ferrantino. And I'm Jessica Wexler. And we are from the CPCA, or the Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse. We are located in Poughkeepsie off of Van Wagner Road. So it's the town of Poughkeepsie. And just to go into a little bit about what we do, we are very aptly named. Our entire mission is geared around preventing child abuse in the Hudson Valley. And we were founded in 1973, and we are a nonprofit organization, and we serve about 15,000 children per year, children and adults and their families through the community, and through prevention programming, educational training, and supportive services. And our programs include the supportive parenting program, the personal safety program, community education, and then the Child Advocacy Center. So the first 3 programs listed there are our prevention programs, and the Child Advocacy Center is crisis intervention. Jess Wexler is the coordinator of educational programs, so she works with the preventative programs, and I work in the Child Advocacy Center. I'm the Child Advocacy Coordinator.
So the first program we're going to talk about is our supportive parenting program. It's open to any parent or expecting parent with a developmental disability or mental health diagnosis that does include substance abuse issues. They have about an hour-and-a-half class each week. They come in person to our agency and they learn how to parent. They get classes on how to cook a great meal, how to discipline your child, creating routines for your children. And they also have home visits with our case managers, so our case managers can see the action, the changes the parents are implementing in their home. So not only giving them the lessons, but also watching them implement into their home. We have great connections with the community resources that will connect them to, whether that be food pantries, housing in the community, mental health connections. In 2022, we had 40 parents participate. This past June and December, we had 17 graduates. So every year we have a graduation in December and in June, and a lot of times it's the first graduation that our parents do attend, whether that be out of high school or college, it's the first graduation. So we really do make a big deal out of it. We have a bunch of community leaders come and celebrate them because it really is a big accomplishment. And with this graduation, a lot of them do get their children back in their home.
And just with that, to give perspective, this is highly supported by Dutchess County Children and Family Services, and the goal was set for only 20 parents to participate, and we had 40 in 2022. So just to show perspective, the number seems low with our population, but not in this world.
Mm-hmm. And then the next one is our personal safety program, so that's the one that I'm actually in charge of. We present to 12 to 13 districts throughout Dutchess County. We're in grades pre-K through 8th grade, so all the way from the 3-year-olds all the way to the teenagers. Obviously the presentation is different. We have a first presentation all about abuse, how to keep your body safe, right and wrong touches for the younger kids. And then with the older kids, we also go into dating abuse, healthy relationships, unhealthy relationships. And then we have a second lesson all about digital safety and online and bullying. Just because that's so prevalent in our society right now, we give them a safe space to open up, talk, maybe talk about how to report someone who's hurting you online or who to talk to about it. It is an evidence-based curriculum based out of Florida called the Monique Bird Foundation we rent from. So like I said, it's completely evidence-based. It's all age-appropriate lessons. We have 5 safety rules. The younger kids get to dance at the end of the lesson. And over 94% actually kids reported that they've learned how to keep their body safe and they learned how to stay safe online, and 92% of the students said that they liked our lessons this year. So you can go to the next slide, actually. So this past year we reached over 11,600 students, and we were in 40 schools. So that includes, like I said, 12 to 13 districts in Dutchess County, and we have elementary schools in every single one. So yeah, this past year we had 200 disclosures, whether that be bullying, cyberbullying, abuse, and we had 14 CPS reports. And then our last program is our community education program. So this is a one-man show, and he does a mandated reporter training. So anyone who needs to become a mandated reporter or who wants to be a mandated reporter can take this. It's an online course that you can take, and you'll be certified for New York State. And then we also have a Keeping Children Safe workshop that we offer to anyone. So our guy, Rick Keller Coffee, actually was in a bunch of the summer camps this year talking to camp counselors, because while kids aren't in schools, they're with camp counselors. And a lot of them are teenagers, college kids, who might not know the signs of abuse. He'll teach them the different signs of the 4 different types of abuse, what to expect, when to talk to a supervisor, and when to make a report. He's also been to teachers in the community, police officers, firefighters, really educating them on the signs and warning signs of people who are involved in kids all the time.
And I don't know if you mentioned, that one is free for Dutchess County residents, but outside of Dutchess County, there is the fee. So going on to the Child Advocacy Center, or widely known as a CAC. In New York, almost every county has their own CAC. We are the Dutchess County CAC. And we are a space to coordinate the investigation, treatment, and prosecution of child abuse and maltreatment cases. So we work in what's called a multidisciplinary team, which by the name of it, it is multiple disciplines coming together. So law enforcement, CPS, mental health agents, DA office, advocacy teams, we come together and we coordinate the response to child abuse cases, all child abuse cases in Dutchess County. So the center is specifically geared towards a child-friendly and appropriate space, and it is just an environment that is not a police station, not a hospital, not a CPS county office, a government office. It is a child-friendly space for them to come talk about things that they definitely don't want to talk about. And you can go on to the next one. So what the CAC team is we are, like I said, multiple disciplines in one space. So we have law enforcement co-located as well as CPS co-located with our advocacy team all in one space. So it's a one-stop shop for the family to come in. They don't have to go to law enforcement to go explain what happened and then talk to CPS and explain what happened and then go to the hospital and explain what happened. We have 6 co-located CPS workers, including their supervisor. We have 3 law enforcement and their co-located coordinator, so we have a New York State police officer on site. We also have a detective from the City of Poughkeepsie Police Department, as well as a detective from the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. Their coordinator is an investigator with the DA's office who has retired New York State Police. We have 3 on-site family advocates who are employed by the Center for the Prevention of Child Abuse. So our advocacy team is on site, and they are more of a liaison between CPS, law enforcement, and our families. And they provide them with the resources in the community. So therapy resources, clothing, food, shelter, we are the ones that connect them to that. We have an on-site trauma therapist who will work with the children short term. So that is crisis intervention trauma therapy. So it is not geared towards a long-term solution for therapy. We will do step-down processes for therapy once they've worked with the the clinician on site. And then the CAC coordinators, that's myself, I coordinate the cases, I assign the cases to the advocacy team, kind of just keep the ship moving there and coordinate between CPS and law enforcement. And then we have our therapy dog piece who is up there. So he has 3 handlers. I'm his primary handler. I work with him full time. He goes into the so we'll go further into what we do, but what he does is goes into the forensic interviews with the children. So when they come on site and have to talk, he's there as a comfort. So he is on site full time as well. So like I was going into, the CAC services, what we do is forensic interviews, which is a technique by someone who is trained in child abuse and maltreatment investigations. It's the questioning technique. So it is trauma-informed to gather information from those who have experienced child abuse or maltreatment. So it is, we use best practices. There is multiple different forensic interview trainings. Child First and best practices are the most widely known, and we use best practices at our CAC. Like I said, we do advocacy. We greet the family. We're the first family that sees, or we're the first people that the family sees. So when they walk in through the door, they see us. They don't see a caseworker. They don't see a law enforcement agent. We bring them to a family room. We get them snacks and water and make sure they're comfortable, and then we talk about what we need to talk about with them. We provide referrals to therapy and ongoing support, so follow-up conversations. The families can just talk, just a listening ear sometimes. Like I said, trauma therapy, which is free for all CAC clients who would like to initiate therapy, and medical exams. So on site, we have a medical exam room and a nurse practitioner from Westchester Institute for Human Development. She comes on site once a week and does non-invasive forensic medical exams. So blood work, lab work, urine samples, and just a non-invasive exam. And it is to avoid them having to go to the hospital. We do not do SANE exams, which is, for lack of better terms, a rape kit. We don't do that. That would be done at the hospital, but we can do the follow-up so they don't have to go back. So 2 weeks after the exam, we do the follow-up there. Also on site, we have a food pantry that's accessible only to the CAC and CPCA clients, as well as clothing, hygiene products, and that are all graciously donated, or via gift cards. We go and get the things that the families need, or they're donated through food drives and clothing drives and things like that. And then there's that.
So how can you help? So we actually have our annual 5K, One Too Many, that we do in correlation with NISCA, so the New York State Children's Alliance. We have one, you could do it 5K your way, you could do it virtual, you can bike, swim, run, hike, whatever you like, you can do a 5K. We actually have an event in Beacon, the Best of Beacon, on September 17th. You're more than welcome to register. And Battle of the Badges on September 23rd at Manchester Crossing on the rail trail. So that's where you have Arlington Professional Fire and Town Poughkeepsie PBA kind of compete to see who is the best, quote unquote. We also have community education training. So me and Jess left our business cards right where you got the agendas for the meeting. If anyone is interested in having community education training, you can reach out to one of us and we'll definitely get you set up on the schedule with our community educator. And we're always looking for drives, whether that be food drives, clothing, hygiene products, feminine products, teddy bear drives, because every kid who comes to the CAC also gets a teddy bear. We take it all. So anyone who's willing to do a drive for us, we've had a bunch of local churches do it for us, a bunch of schools, agencies. It's great. Or we can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers, whether it's in personal safety, supporting a family in the supportive parenting program, and like Councilman Rye said, we do have our annual gala or awards dinner that we host in May that we love people to attend to.
And that's pretty much it. To give some perspective of the CAC, as well as prevention, the connection between them, the disclosures that Jess gets at the schools, very often we see those cases come through the CAC, and we serve about 600 children a year in Dutchess County just through our doors. So whether that's offsite and our advocates reaching out separately, or them coming physically to the center. And so we just want to thank you for your time. Thank you, Councilmember Rye. It's been amazing to present it, and that's our information. If you have any questions, like Jess said, our business cards are over there.
Good job. I don't know if people have, okay, thank you.
Yeah, open up to questions.
I left out, I toured this whole facility.
Yes.
You guys took me along, and the work that you do, the energy you have, is I just wish there was a drink out there for that. But anyway, There may be someone watching right now that may need your services. Would you say that all they would need to do is log on to thecpca.org, and then they could tap into the programs, the help, the assistance that you have talked about this evening? Is that the easiest way?
Yeah, so on our website, it goes through all of our programs and kind of an overview of what we gave today in a little less depth. And more than welcome to jump on our website. All of the contact information that they might be looking for is on there. The CAC, I should mention, is not something that you just stop by. Prevention is, it's the same building, so you're in the right spot either way, but we do not take reports. This is very important from the CPCA. We do not take reports of child maltreatment or abuse. You do have to still call the central registry, which is why it's super important to take that non-mandated or mandated reporter training. So if you are have any suspicions, we can certainly guide you through that process. But to actually make a report, it would have to come through the central registry, and any client that comes to the CAC is either through a law enforcement referral or a central registry CPS referral. So the prevention side and just gathering information, the cpca.org is a great avenue to take. Contact us directly from our business cards, but yeah, that would be the most direct route to take.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Greg,
Of course.
can you get the Beacon event, and we'll put that on our ego on Friday? Get that information?
Yeah, if there's any material that you want based on any events or
The Beacon
anything like
event, we'll
that.
attach it, we get Beacon surrounds.
Yeah.
Fishkill surrounds Beacon, so we'll do,
Yeah, yes.
yes.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
so
guys,
much.
for coming.
Thank you.
Next up is introduction of new employees. We have one today, young man. Just tell us your name and what department you're working for and why you want to work in Fishkill.
Good evening. I'd first like to thank you all for your time today, and thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight.
Ethan, just pick up the mic a little. Thanks.
I recently got accepted to work at the Fishkill Recreation Center for an after-school counselor, and I think this would be a great opportunity for me to pursue my future as hopefully a physical education teacher and to work with kids in my future.
Excellent. How old are you?
I'm 16 years old, and I just started my junior year at John Jay.
Excellent. Welcome to Fishkill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time. Have a good night.
It's not, I thought he was like 18. Big boy. Big boy. All right, next up is privilege of the floor for general tight items, and we have this lady goes first.
Actually, hello.
Hi.
Maybe I can hand these out to you guys. I don't know who has to take them.
Greg.
Yeah. Great. Get the handouts for the lady.
They're just for the board members. Thank you. Hi, my name is June Sorensen Jenny, and I am a Fishkill resident, so good evening. I'd like to thank the board for your civic participation and for allowing me to bring the following information to your attention. Like you, I have stepped up and been volunteering my time for the last year and a half with New York Citizens Audit. In October 21st of 2021, New York Citizens Audit received their first copy of the state voter roll database called Nice Voter. Then, using FOIA requests, we asked for every county board of elections for copies of its local database. Not all complied. Election law is clear that county boards of election maintain their own database, with the state database basically acting as a compilation. The state has almost no authority to add, change, or delete any kind of information from the database. When New York Citizens Audit first began, the 2020 general election was the primary focus. In May of 2022, New York Citizens Audit brought its findings specifically related to the 2020 general election to the New York State Board of Elections, the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, the heads of the Democrat and Republican parties, also the county commissioners of 29 counties, as well as the sheriffs, DAs, and other officials where it was appropriate. And we did not receive a single reply. Voter rolls were not touched, and they were ahead. Voter rolls were not touched, and they went ahead and administered another federal election and certified the results. It was that complete disregard for the New York Citizens Audit findings that prompted us to take our case to the people in cities and small towns across New York, which is why I'm here. On on August 11th of 2023, I emailed you several documents to all of you. The documents included a report entitled "A Study in Deficits," outlining millions of irregularities found in an audit of the New York State voter rolls performed by New York Citizens Audit volunteers who analyzed 21 million records of publicly available raw data from the 2020 general election. A copy of the New York State Deficit Summary, which was a one-page summary of the Study and Deficit Report, a link to an article entitled "Catastrophic Loss of Control Data Breach in New York Elections," and a reference to a peer-reviewed published report in the Journal of Information Warfare entitled "The Caesar Cipher and Stacking the Deck in New York State Voter Rolls," that goes into more details of what has been found in the New York State voter rolls. I also included a copy of a customized resolution for an audit of the New York State 2022 general election, listing all of your names on it. On August 25th, 2023, I emailed you with a copy of the New York State 2022 general election and the Reign of Error, Apathy, Incompetence, and Malfeasance report, which outlines all of the issues the all-volunteer New York State's audit team has uncovered in the 2022 NICE data and the federal and state laws that apply. Anyone looking to review this research, if there's anybody in the audience that wants to, or get a copy of any of this information, they can find it on our website, auditnewyork.com. There are many references there, including an example of steganography in New York State voter rolls. Steganography is a form of cryptography designed to conceal information in plain sight. And cryptography is a message that's written in code to prevent disclosure to unauthorized recipients. As a resident of the Town of Fishkill, I am proposing a resolution for an audit of New York State 2022 general election, and after reviewing the data, which I've handed out physical copies of that data to you right now, after you review that, which I hope you have, I hope you'll support the resolution by signing your names in the affirmative. Now, I wanted to just read what the actual, let me get to it, hold on, resolution says. So it says, a resolution for an audit of the New York State 2022 general election. Whereas it is recognized civil right in the United States for every citizen to have free and fair elections, and the right of suffrage can be denied by a debasement or dilution of the weight of a citizen's vote, just as effectively as by wholly prohibiting the free exercise of the franchise. Reynolds versus Sims, 377 U.S. 533 from 1964. Whereas it is the affirmative duty of our election officials to comply with all federal and state laws governing administration and procedure of our elections, thereby guaranteeing our elections are accurate and free of distortions and manipulation. Whereas our constitutional system of representative government only works when the worth of honest ballots is not diluted by invalid ballots procured by corruption, and assuring accuracy can only be achieved through the operational integrity of our elections, as defined by those laws governing the following 5 processes. 1, rigorous verification and voter identity. 2, proven ballot security and intact chain of custody. 3, voting systems certified to be secure from operational, physical, and cyber threats. 4, meets all FISMA and state operational risk assessment requirements. And 5, meets auditability and traceability requirements and operational policy. Whereas, this is still part of the resolution, whereas an open source audit of the New York State 2020 general election conducted by New York Citizens Audit has uncovered evidence of massive inaccuracies that violate both federal and state laws, including 2,427,827 New York State voter ID numbers attached to 1,170,790 registrants, 740,396 ineligible votes cast statewide, 338,356 more votes cast than voters who voted, 987,490 voters who registered on January 1st from 1900 to 2021, 1.9 million registrations in the state voter rolls missing from the county rolls, 625,359 more registrations than voting-age citizens in 6 counties alone. 195,271 votes cast in New York City that went missing in NICE voter database. Over 1 million felony violations of New York State election law. 95 state and federal legislative races impacted by 740,396 ineligible votes. Abandoned ballots and ballot payment schemes. Certification as defined by law was provably fraudulent and illegal. Whereas the findings trample accuracy requirements of voting systems for a federal election, wherein the system shall achieve a target error rate of no more than 1 in 10 million ballot positions. For a voting system, accuracy is defined as the ability of the system to capture, record, store, consolidate, and report the specific selections and absence of selections made by the voter for each ballot position without error. Whereas it must be known factually and provably that the intent of the voters is accurately represented by election results before certification can be lawfully conducted. Certification of election that varies from the law is an abridgment of the civil rights of the citizen, a fraud ab initio, United States versus Throckmorton, 98 U.S. 61 from 1878. Whereas state and federal officials have met the efforts of New York Citizens Audit to seek redress for these egregious violations with indifference and inaction, including the Attorney General, Secretary of State, State Board of Elections, Inspector General, Federal Bureau of Investigation, state leadership of Democratic and Republican parties, county election officials, sheriffs, district attorneys, and others. Whereas none of these violations were addressed prior to the administration and certification of the 2022 general election, and there prevails a spirit of extreme contention and zero trust between people of differing political ideologies across New York, which is destructive to our families, our way of life, and the fabric of the United States. Therefore, we call upon our representatives, including town board members, county legislators, state legislators, federal legislators, law enforcement, federal and state prosecutors, and judges to provide relief to the people and the assurance of domestic tranquility through the fulfillment of each of the following firm requests. 1, a complete end-to-end audit of the New York State 2022 general election for both paper and electronic records, including ballots, by a mutually agreed-upon external third-party bonded auditing firm possessed of adequate insurance and indemnification for handling and protection of the personal identifying information of millions of New York citizens in order to determine the true error rate. This audit will provide a comprehensive report and analysis of all lapses and errors with explanation of cause where it can be determined. 2, the enactment of legislation defining a mutually agreed upon process by which an end-to-end audit would be triggered in any future elections. 3, the enactment of legislation defining a mutually agreed upon accuracy rate for the NICE voter and county voter roll databases. 4, the enactment of legislation allowing an anonymous vote verification and tracking by voter, open source, royalty-free, patent pending, including automatic mechanisms to report and remedy errors during the canvass period following an election, regardless of ballot entry source. And 5, criminalize election misconduct explicitly with regard to state election law, and increase penalties reflect the societal and generational harms inflicted by these crimes. And the resolution's on the following page, and it says, be it resolved that the Town Board of Fishkill, New York stands in support with the concerns and remedies presented here. We implore the Dutchess County Legislator, New York State Legislator, federal legislators, law enforcement, federal and state prosecutors, judges, and both state and county boards of elections to cooperate and fulfill these firm requests of the people. And this is the section here where you guys would sign in affirmative that you're supportive of an audit. So that's basically what I wanted to present. All the data that's in there this is from the 2022, which you have a copy of. This is all the data, and there's a tremendous amount of detail that's in here. We've been working on this for over a year and a half. I've been participating both on the research team, which produce this data. I've been participating on the FOIL team, where we would actually FOIL the actual records, and we could see, and I know personally that there was a problem because my son's registration was changed, and we actually went to the Dutchess County Sheriff's with that information, and they did an investigation into it. His was changed to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and we didn't even go into the Department of Motor Vehicles, but his registration was changed. So we do know that it happens. We do get the full requests from the different things that we're investigating, and when we get that information, we can see that there's fraud. There was also one instance, which I believe is either referenced, I think it's referenced in the 2020 general election study in deficits, but there was a man there was a person that was in the database. He was registered in 25 different counties, and when we actually went out and canvassed the locations, the person was nowhere to be found. And what we found when we pulled the records, we actually foiled the records for the registrations for that particular person. All are probably I think there was like 19 out of 25 of them that we got the response from. They were all directed to a mailing address. Basically, all had absentee ballot requests to a mailing address in Nanuet, and I think that's Rockland County. So the person didn't exist, but he was actually registered in 25 different counties in New York State. So anyway, I don't know if you have any questions or not, but that's what we wanted to present. We wanted to get your support in support of an audit, and we're going to each of the different...
What page is that audit on?
It's not a company, it's we're a non-for-profit. It's called, New York Citizens Audit, and the website is auditnewyork.com. And all of the information that I've presented to you is on the website. In addition, I think I referenced this when I sent the email to you too. It's called Catastrophic Loss of Control Data Breach in Elections. It's another article that was written, and they were basically saying that, you can't have a catastrophic loss of control in your database and still have it be valid. So most of that information I gave you, like I said, it's the 2022, the 2020. This is also another document that's out there. It's an example of steganography in New York State voter rolls. It goes into all the details as far as what we've found. That's on the website. I didn't give you a copy of this, but this is on the website also. I didn't want to overwhelm you with paper. I know I've already sent a lot of it to you.
And the website is auditny.com.
auditny.com.
Okay.
And all that information is out there.
What does purge before registered mean?
Basically means that the account, the actual registration record was set up as purged. So it shouldn't be set up as purged, it should be set up as active. And so it was never in an active state. They set it up as purged, but you'll also see in that record that there are purged records with no purge date, which is a problem. The problem with that is if you have no purge date, you don't know if the elections the person voted in are accurate or not because you don't know when they were purged. So should they have been in that, should they have voted in that election or not? There's no way of knowing if there's no purge date. You also, I feel the other examples that are in there, let me just see if I can pull one of those. Maybe I'll pull it from the 2022. They had quite a few lists here. So this is under the section votes counted must be from qualified electors. It says invalid or illegal registration types that voted. We have counterfeit registrations. The counterfeit registrations, what that is people have more than one State Board of Election ID number. So the State Board of Election ID number is assigned by the state, and it's like a Social Security number. You're only supposed to have one. It's supposed to follow you for your whole lifetime. So even if you switch between counties, your county ID number will switch, but your state number will stay the same. It'll tie back, and this way your whole voting history will be, attached. There's more, people have more than one. My deceased nephew has two of them in Westchester County. And actually, some of my neighbors have more than one also. I think I mentioned that to you when you visited my house, and I told you I wanted to speak here. So counterfeit registrations, 449,856. This is from 2022. Counterfeit registrations in double votes, which means both of the registration records show voting, 2,440. registered after the 2022 general election cutoff date yet voted. So there's a cutoff date as of which time you can register. These all were basically after that date. So there was 9,766 of those. Purged with no purge date. For this particular one, 942. Purged before the election, 2,524. Registered after the last vote date, 2,597. Voter identity not verified. So in their actual data, it says whether or not they actually have, validated the person. It says whether they have the identification information in there. So for that, under that category, it has 3,825. Age discrepant registrants. So they're older than the oldest person known in the U.S., which is 115 years old. For this particular, in the 2022, there was 599 of those. Registered before age 16, 2,032. Blank address registrants. So how do you know where they're supposed to be voting from if there's no address, which there's a lot of them? 16,625. And then January 1st registration dates from the years 1900 through 2022. There's 254,090 of those. So this is just from the 2022. The 2020 had higher numbers in a lot of the categories, and that's why I was providing all the information to you. It's a serious problem. We've seen all the results. When we've looked at the actual FOILed records, it looks like the records were basically just copied over. That's the information we're capturing too. When you see the registration records, and it looks like the exact same duplicate signature on all the registration records, regardless of how many registration records they have, there's actually something that's going on that's not good for our state or for our country. So I just wanted to present it. I wanted to see if I could get the board to sign on to an audit. I think if we can find out what's causing this, especially since a total loss of control is not a good thing. And I would support, hopefully you will support the audit. So thank you, if you have any questions or not.
There's a lot of work you did. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not just all mine. There's over 2,000 of us now. We started with about 50. There's 2,000 of us now.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Great.
I don't know
How to do a resolution? Yes. Go outside.
How would we find out whether or not you will be?
She's going to talk to you, and we're going to talk about it.
Who's going to?
My secretary.
Oh, okay. So he'll contact me, let me know? Okay, well, thank you for your time.
I think I'm going to be emailing
Thank
you
you.
with a few questions, so.
You're going to be emailing me a few questions?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. If I can't answer them, I will direct you to the board.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, I know.
Depressing.
Anybody wants to see it, it's on auditnewyork.com.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank
Go out
you.
there and get that information in, resolution. Thank you, ma'am. Next. Ann, I'll get you next. You want to go next? The lady first. Sorry.
Hi, I do have a couple of questions in regards to this. Hi. Is it .com or .org? You said that you were a not-for-profit, but it's .com, like .org is for not-for-profits. Is it, just to double check so people can, it's .com? Okay. And I'm wondering also, as far as election fraud, do ghost candidates fall into that issue?
Ann, speak to us, Ann.
Well, it's a question for her, I suppose, or maybe you, because we actually did have an issue with some ghost candidates at the last election. So I'm wondering if that's on the ballot, and people are going in and voting, and they're voting for someone who doesn't actually exist, that might also be something, and it happened right here in Fishkill, it happened in the city of Poughkeepsie, or rather the town of Poughkeepsie, so I know that it happened here locally. So that might be something interesting that you want to look into as well. Ghost candidates. So I just wanted to, again, speak to the board in regards to the proposed village project that will very dramatically and negatively impact your constituents here in the town. I did send you a pretty detailed email. I appreciate calls from both Councilman Istvan and Daniele. I didn't hear a peep out of anybody else, in spite of great concern at the last meeting. I think that we have the Keep Fishkill Beautiful Committee has a very reasonable request that the town support your constituents and you ask for an expanded traffic study. Anybody who drives into the center of town knows that this traffic backs up into the town, and they are proposing to add another 56 apartment units, 105 parking spots, businesses, storage buildings, and although obviously you don't have control over that, we are asking you to stay in your lane and ask the village to request a more extended traffic study. So I wanted to address that again. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Roy. Ms. Anderson? No, Ms. Anderson? Mrs. Anderson? Ms. Anderson?
Fred, you changed your name?
Fred Cantor, getting older. Little League. Just wanted to give you a little report. This past spring, as you know, we allowed any T-baller to play for no money. All right? We had over 100, or approximately 100 kids. It's hard to tell, because they're so small and they move quick. This fall, which our fall season is starting this Saturday, we have 60 children. I just wanted to let you know that it's working. We do ask the parents to donate $50, which they get back for volunteering. If we didn't do that, we couldn't get any volunteer parents to manage the kids, because we definitely don't have enough adults in our league, because it's all voluntary, to do it. But I tell you, it went very, very well, and we're very, very pleased with it, and we'll plan on doing it again this year.
Great job, Fishkill
Thank you,
Little
Fred.
League.
Thank you for all your hard work at the Little League.
We have a great Little League program.
Feels
Mrs.
good to hear
Anderson,
some
the
positive
floor is
stuff.
yours. Nobody get up? Just her?
Fred Anderson.
We'll start with saying it's freezing in here. Good evening, my name is Bridget Anderson. I live at 29 Pritchard Court in Fishkill Woods, a Toll Brothers community, and I'm also the president of the Board of Managers. Since 2015, yes, I said 2015, our community has been communicating with the Town of Fishkill Building Department about several significant violations of the 2010 New York State Residential Building Code, in which our community was built to. As a result of our frustration, in January 2017, I filed a local code enforcement complaint form with New York State Division of Building Codes and Standards, citing the violations that exist in many of the homes in our community. In April of that year, the town building inspector was sent a copy of the complaint and was directed to respond to the deficiencies. Although some of them were corrected, I'm here today on September 6th of 2023 with many of my neighbors. They're all here, and thank you for coming. Still struggling to get the town to have the remaining open violations corrected by Toll Brothers. At the January 18th meeting, I shared our frustration with the board over the lack of action by the building department to get told to correct the violations. I was told by Supervisor Albra prior to the meeting that Toll Brothers was looking for relief on some affordable housing units. I think you all probably remember that meeting, and that this leverage would be used to our advantage to get relief. I said, and that the leverage would be used to our advantage, but nothing came of it. It's the last I heard about it. I was then told by the supervisor the town would not take ownership of the Fishkill Woods water and sewer system until Toll corrected the violations. On May 3rd, the town board voted to accept these systems. Our code violations were still not corrected. On May 15th, Supervisor Albra, Joel Petrus, and Rich Travis attended at our request a meeting of the Board of Managers and the community members to hear about our frustration and lack of progress. And we thank you for being brave enough to show up. On May 26th, Supervisor Albert, Joel, Tim DeLorne, who's also on our board, and I walked the community to inspect it and verify the code violations, because I always said, I could be wrong, prove me wrong. Joel agreed that all but 2 of the items needed to be corrected, and I think Ozzy will contend that we walked a lot that day. I reached out to the supervisor, Joel, in July, and then again in August for status of the repairs. There's been no effort on the town's part to take the initiative to reach out to us to provide an update, and we haven't heard nothing from Toll Brothers about if and when they'll be making those repairs. We've been fighting with the town to make up for the lack of proper New York State code enforcement in our community that has resulted in these violations. It's been 8 long years. As one of the Fishkill Woods board members said in our last meeting, and I wish Brian was here to say it because he said it great, the town keeps kicking the can down the road and hopes that we will give up and go away. And that's how we feel. We have no intention of going away. If need be, our next communication will be with New York State and file another local code enforcement complaint. This time, instead of my signature on it, I hope that there will be 93 signatures on it from our community. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Anybody else? Yep. Anything regarding the Town of Fishkill?
Can I just, I'm sorry, one tiny second. Did you have documentation of what it is you presented to, the list of complaints, et cetera, et cetera?
I have sent that to the board numerous times.
I don't-
I've sent it to the board members at least once, if not twice, and it's been sent to the supervisor more than that.
Okay, I did a search, I knew you're coming and I couldn't find it, so.
I'm assuming it's in the records, because it was all there. And if we can't find it, I'll get it together again, but this is not acceptable. It's just not right.
Sir?
Thanks. I was just thinking, in full transparency, when Councilman Esteban came down to meet with us, we decided at the next meeting we're going to get a PDF of the Hunter report. So I'm not sure if that was ever entered into the official record by the clerk, but that was the extensive archaeological report on the Fishkill Supply Depot, and that's where it has really detailed investigation and evidence saying that it's of historic value, and they believe it hasn't been fully explored. So I know the developer, the owner of it, has put out some misinformation on a local newspaper, and that's his right, but we feel we want to present it to the public record. So it really gets everyone up to speed. Rob and I, as co-presidents, are kind of getting up to speed. A lot of new members are here. So we want it entered into the official record as a PDF where it's open to everyone that can see it, to see where we're coming from in terms of presenting evidence why we believe this site is so historic and so on. So, I just want to agree with Councilman Foreman. Evidence is so important, right? And, I came up here and I presented 2 pieces of evidence that you seem to agree with. You seem to agree with the fact that you accepted $250 at some point in the past that was not disclosed until last month. And you also admitted to going to people's houses, maybe 2, that from the petition that we signed. So, we put this petition out. We put a lot of hard work into getting it out there, and I think people are reluctant to sign documents when the fear is that an elected official is going to show up at your door. That's intimidating to the public, and I would think, your response to that evidence that we provided was, that's tough. That was your response to your method of doing that. So I guess it's interpreted, I interpret it as a ethics violation, as intimidation. You interpret it as tough. So I'm asking the board, could you define, is the $250 donation considered an ethics violation that might be covered by your resolution tonight? No. Or perhaps, I don't know if the lawyer is allowed to interject, if he can give his opinion of, are those 2 examples that we provided with evidence, as you said, evidence, and you seem to admit, does that evidence reach the threshold of an ethics violation? So, this is important information. Again, I'm not from Fishkill, but I feel I'm advocating for the people of Fishkill, and I want to make sure their elected officials have the best interests of the voters at heart and not the developer. Thank you.
He brought my name. Go on, John. So, when Rob came up here a month ago to talk about that $250, he failed to say that it was from 12 years ago. Okay? Yeah, I had to pry it out of him.
John, don't argue with the guy.
I'm not arguing with him. I'm just saying, you knew I'm running for supervisor, and you implied that I got this check 2 months ago. Yeah, you did. Well, you said I got a check for $250.
Yeah, I did say that.
For 12 years ago.
I don't know what
come to the podium.
For 10 years, I don't know what your point is. You got the...
You implied that I got it 2 months ago, and we have a problem here.
You can't say, how do you know what I'm implying? You gotta be kidding me.
Because I got ears.
Wow, that's great.
All right, anybody like to speak about anything regarding the town of Fishkill, please? Continue to speak.
Did you say police or the Fishkill?
After everybody else goes in, you get a second shot. Did you already go, Russ, or you went to a public hearing? Okay.
Russ O'Malley, 142 Old Route 9. What's it going, this just came up. Mr. Foreman, that petition that we signed, and you said, we were the only people that you went to, you said. My wife and I. The only house you went to? Is that what you just said?
There was one other door that I knocked on.
Oh, there was another one?
Yep.
Why only two? How many
it was
people
Sunday
on
night,
that?
it was late.
How many people on that petition? 400. And I just feel that kind of strange and not...
Well, you know, you come to every meeting, you're very involved in what's going on. I figured you might be home, and I took a shot, and you were home.
No.
Do we talk about politics when I was there, Mr. O'Malley?
Oh, no, it has nothing to do with politics. I'm just saying, I'm questioning why we were the only ones. First you said we were the only ones. And why, even if there were two, how come, what was the reasoning? What's the reasoning behind just going to us?
Only because you're at all of our meetings, and I feel that you're involved, and...
I see lots of people here that sign that
That's
go
it.
around.
You asked me, and I gave you an answer.
Okay.
I just wanted to know.
Okay. Speak at the podium or don't say anything.
Yes. All right. What I really wanted to say is, good evening. Just this past weekend, a number of the major news networks reported disturbing findings concerning fresh water and North America's aquifers. They state they are drying up faster than they can be replenished. The overuse of water by agriculture and industry are taking a toll on a cherished resource, fresh water. All the recent storms and flooding across the country should not be of any comfort. The fact is, they state it can take 1,000,000 years plus to regenerate an aquifer and only 100 years to empty one. So to those that continually preach that our town, the town of Fishkill, has plenty of water, so why not just give it to any business and industry that requests it? Wake up. Yeah, yesterday you can say we have enough, but you're surely not considering nor concerned about the future water supply for Fishkill residents and for the fresh water supply for Fishkill's sons and daughters and the future residents. What's wrong with some people? No concept of conservation or preservation? Those say we got plenty of trees, we've got a mountain of trees, just keep cutting them down. Those say we've got plenty of water, don't worry about the water, just open up the pipes and let it flow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. That article was, I read that article in the New York Times. Our aquifers are being drained at an alarming rate across the United States of America, especially the West, and it's going to have some significant impact for agriculture because that's worldwide. And we're blessed here in the town of Fishkill to have the Clove Creek Aquifer, which pumps out pretty good water. And that's why myself, Marie, Louise, and the board members, we passed aquifer protection law for the first time ever, and we passed a thing called a DWSB2 with the state of New York to preserve your water source in the future, where another board can't just change the law, they have to go to the state, and it would be a big problem for them to change the law. So we've done a lot, Mr. O'Malley, to protect your water sources. So I just want to let the citizens of Fishkill know that. That's it. Water is a major problem in the United States of America, and the town of Fishkill is doing the right thing with it. Anybody else wish to speak?
Can I just respond to Ms. Anderson's comment from before?
You wanted to go again and respond?
I just wanted to respond. I didn't get a chance to respond. If you wanted to come back up.
Let her make her second comment, and then you can respond to her both times if you want.
Thanks.
I would love to hear your comment, because my comment was going to be this time. I've been up here a number of times. I've emailed you folks the same stuff. I've emailed you documentation, pictures, photos. I've spent time taking it around. And quite frankly, I and my neighbors deserve more of a thank you and let me sit down. I've heard you banter back and forth about voting and elections and ethics. We're taxpayers. We have documentation that the town did not do their job, and you guys haven't done a damn thing about it in 8 years.
Okay, you ready for mine?
I am, thank you.
Okay. I wrote it before, I just didn't want to interrupt you when you
That's
sat down,
okay.
and I was waiting for everybody else to,
I hate
finish.
standing up here reading that thing.
And
so.
when I'm done, I'll put the heat up for you, or get rid of the air conditioning. According to my knowledge, as you just said, this happened during a previous administration's tenure. I know for myself, I've been attending meetings since 2018, and the supervisor has been coming to meetings for over 20 years. I don't recall seeing or hearing anyone coming during that time to complain about this matter. I also want to note that when we came on the board, the supervisor and I, and also the new members this year, we inherited the Toll Merritt Boulevard water billing issues that were outstanding for almost a decade, probably longer than that, with 2 other complexes as well. And the prior administration kicked the can longer than I can count. And it took us some time, but this board actually got it resolved this past year with the help of Mr. Gaba and the attorney from Toll Brothers. So I'm aware that the supervisor and Joel are working on your concerns, so I'm just asking that you be patient while they work on the resolution, because sometimes it takes a long time to work matters out with Toll, as we see. But for myself, I had to speak to Joel about a different matter that's on the agenda later tonight, and I did ask him about yours because I saw it was, potentially going to be talked about. And he said that he spoke to the people from Toll, and they're supposed to be coming out in the next week with a contractor to assess it. So that was what I got from him, because I haven't really been involved fully. I got your emails, I read your emails, I think I replied to you once. I'm letting the supervisor and and Joel work out what it is, because, I don't get involved in everything. But we hear you. We want to help you. I want to help you. But all those meetings that we've been to, nothing got done. You talk about kicking the can down the road. It was so frustrating to come, and I stood like you stood, and I didn't get any answer. I got the typical response from the prior board was, thank you. So, I'm glad that everybody can come and get a response back this time. I didn't respond back earlier, and you're right, everybody else is bantering back and forth and responding. I think that's great, that now everybody can actually speak and be heard. But from what I spoke to Joel today, and it sounds like it's progressing. We want to resolve it, just like we wanted to resolve the other issue with Toll and get it done. So I think if we have a little more patience, this board is actually going to be able to resolve it soon.
Well, I hope so. And we also had a water bill issue that we took care of within our community. So coming here has been the kind of the method of last resort, if you will, to ask the town board to address our concerns. We've been dealing with this. A lot of this stuff got fixed because I went to the state and the town had no choice. Follow-up inspections were not done on that work. The building inspector did not do his job, and we're here again. Joel has my number. He has my cell phone number, he has my work email, he has my regular email. He can pick up the phone, or somebody can email me and tell me that these things are going to be addressed, because we don't believe it. We don't believe it. We have no reason for 8 years to believe anything that we've been told, whether by Joel or Toll.
Well, for us, for myself, I think it's 1 year. I think I started hearing you this year. So, for myself, those past years were not us, because we would have tried to do more than we could, because the prior administration did not.
People were too scared to come here and speak.
I know, that's kind of my point, so I'm glad everybody has the opportunity, but I'm not done giving up on it. I know exactly what you're talking about, because you did do all the hard work with your meter bills prior to that, because I was involved in all of the meter catastrophe that happened in this town, and kudos to you, because you did take care of all of that for your people, so you are a good representative for them and for the others that live with you. But
so how are we going to confirm that Toll is going to do what they said?
We had a meeting, me, Joel, and 2 representatives from Toll Brothers, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. We sat down. They acknowledged that they have to repair the dryer situation, the vents.
They have not, I don't.
They told me they're going to take care of that. They also told me they're going to fix one or two of the basement windows that are messed up. And the only outstanding thing is they're going to send somebody to look at those stoops, their back patios, and they're going to do an estimate with there's 2 walls that need to be repaired too. Okay. So they're going to come back to us in a couple of weeks and give us what they're going to do, if they're going to do it. And I promise you this, if they don't make those repairs, they're not going to get those 3 buyouts that they desperately want. And I don't know if I can speak to the other board members. How do you guys feel about that?
The other promise that they need to make, and what the town needs to do, is make sure that the building inspector follows up with the repairs to make sure that they are in fact done, and they're done correctly.
I wasn't the supervisor 8 years ago.
I
but
am.
you guys agree with the,
Not saying you were, I'm just saying that it hasn't
unless they make
happened.
those repairs?
Well, no, we've got to have some leverage, there's no doubt about it, and I've listened, I've talked to you a couple of times about this, and I am just hearing tonight that there's some sort of action going on. I haven't heard that, so I would love to I'd love to, maybe the board should be apprised of what the status is as far as with Joel or anything else. But, yeah, I mean, it's been a historical thing going on. And I know, unfortunately, we almost moved into a toll place years ago, and we saw workmanship we didn't care for, and we stayed where we are. And I'm glad for it. And I just feel like it's unfortunate. It would appear there's a lot of shortcuts. And for what you paid, it's very drastic. So I hope that this gets resolved and that there is some movement. So I'd love to hear an update, to be quite frank with you.
Oh, that was the update. So you affirm that you'll support me in not giving toll those units unless they make these repairs?
Oh, they can't have them.
John, you feel the same?
Is that appropriate, Mr. Gabbard?
Well, it's discretionary with the board as to whether or not it allows a buyout of affordable housing units. Of course, in this particular instance, you're going to weigh the need for the housing units in this particular development versus allowing them to have a buyout, but certainly the fact that toll doesn't follow through on the discussions they had with the supervisor would be grounds to say, we don't think it's appropriate to grant you the waiver that you're looking for. I mean, it's just one consideration, you understand, but I think it would be fair to say you would support the supervisor in that if that's what you want to do.
It's certainly worth having it on the table.
Thank you. And, well, hold on, just want to follow with Louise. One of the biggest things that I took over, we had serious problems with water and sewer infrastructure with the Toll Brother development on Merritt Boulevard. The health department had a violation since 2005 on a well field that's located at Route 9 and Snook Road. It took the town 13 years to fix that. It took us years to get Toll Brothers to pay a $350,000 water bill. We got them to pay two sewer mains that were broken. One, they paid, and the other one, the HOA was reimbursed. We also had a big situation where the sewer station, which was near the creek, was not being maintained. The gate was open. Anybody could have went there and sabotaged that and ruined the creek, and we would have really been up the creek without a paddle. So I authorized our water provider to make sure he made sure at a minimum he kept those things alive. And these are things that the people just don't see. Regency had some issues with some water meters, and what was the other one? Fox Ridge, 25 years, we took over a water problem with that.
Supervisor Alba, we're only worried about Fishkill Woods.
I worry about the citizens of the town of Fishkill. That's what I worry about.
We want help, and we are citizens of the town of Fishkill.
Yes.
And we want follow-up, and we want reassurance that our issues are going to be addressed, and that the building inspector is going to ensure that they are done appropriately. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson, as you know, I came up to your community. I met with you personally. Looked at some of the concerns, and I want to thank all the residents of Fishkill Woods for coming. Appreciate your time and effort coming up here and speaking. It's very important as a group you're strong as a whole. As the supervisor and our building inspector, they're taking lead on this. We will make sure as a board that they follow through. I am aware of all your emails. I've seen all the pictures. And I believe that Joel and the supervisor will follow through, and we'll make sure as a board that they do. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate it. Anybody else have anything to say? Mr. Gilbert? Mr. Gilbert first.
Is Marley Hornick the executive director? Yes, she is. Okay, Marley Hornick is an
Good to state your name, sir.
Paul Gilbert from Fishkill Woods. I just Googled it. Marley Hornick is a election denier who's featured on Rumble, which is a far-right website. So I think you might want to know. You can Google it yourself, find a little bit more about this person here. Thank you.
Kenya? I'll get you next, sir.
So Kenya Gadsden, former board member, person who sits on this side now, still with several lenses. What I would like to say to the residents over here is that there is hope, but the struggle, no, this is real, right? And so I feel your pain from a distance only because while I sat in that seat over there, I advocated for a particular group or population in Fishkill. I supported them. I had to become their voice. They were afraid to speak up. behind closed doors, I went to the supervisor, literally, like, begging him to intervene, and these were the circumstances. He did that. He did that with me, he did that without me, and with that, we made progress in the lives of senior citizens that live in Dutchess County who have voices but don't want to be targeted, right? So being targeted is an issue. And so I have not been on the board. I think this is my third year not on the board, and I am still advocating for these people who need the supervisors and the town board's support. And again, I go to meeting after meeting after meeting in my own personal time to ensure that we're supporting people in our community. So although it's you right now, there's others as well. And so therefore, we must always look at our neighbors and say, you have an issue, it becomes my issue, because together our issues become more powerful when we stand with one another. So I stand with you, even though I don't live in your community or residence, because I don't live in that complex, but believe me, it is consuming my life. And so I gotta say, like, I wanna say thank you to Ozzy. He's somebody who listens, he's somebody who shows up. I wanna say thank you to Carmine, because he's using his skill set when it comes to, grounds and looking at plants, things that I could just say, I don't know, if it's growing in the screen, it shouldn't be that way. But he has the expertise to say what needs to happen and how it needs to happen, so he's supporting the mission. And then I have to, again, I worked very closely with Louise when I was on the board. Thank you to her, because she took her eye, she went there, she walked with them. So it doesn't become about me, Kenya, the person who was originally involved. It becomes about the people of Fishkill. And we start caring about each other and what you're going through and how that affects me, and not make it about how it looks for me and how it makes me look better, then we become a better community. So on behalf of those people who we are still battling, right? We are still on the email trail with these people, right? I thank you for them.
We're
really
getting
do.
closer.
We're getting closer, but you know the story, right? I think somebody's on Undercover Boss. He's being fooled.
You know the basic deal, if I wasn't sitting there, those people would be getting boned. That'd be the bottom line.
Exactly, and so we are using leverage. We're using the leverage that he's using for you. We're using leverage. We're saying, if you don't have working air conditioning units, then we're not moving forward. We're not giving you what you want. Then we want a plan of action. How are we going to assure that these people are taken care of for the amount of years that you want whatever you want? How do we ensure that? Because when this board walks away and it looks different, nobody's going to know, right? I'm not going to still be here. So we have to put things in black and white to ensure that the quality of care of the people who live in Fishkill, regardless of your political affiliation, just the fact that you are human and you breathe, should still be a priority for all of us. That's all of us. So I just want to say that, right? And I want to say that as somebody who I voted with this whole water sewer thing, and it's a shame because when I came off the board, I took the time to break down everything, because I'm the person that sat with the attorney and I tried to get all the answers and make sure my T's were crossed and my I's were dotted, because again, it wasn't about my political affiliation. Like everybody wants to make it about politics. It's about ensuring the health and safety and wellness of the people of Fishkill. I may not pay, but my kids will pay 25 and 30 years from now. So how do I safeguard and protect them? So I got this information. I voted against the water and sewer. The unknown was too much for me, and so therefore it was not my responsibility or the responsibility of that board to take on what the previous board agreed to. We understood that legally. We all heard Mr. Garber say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, no, you do not have capacity right now. You don't. Mr. Isfan asked that question. It was clear. Can we get capacity? Yes. We have to buy capacity. We have to connect somehow, and they will have the water. Let's not continue to fool the people. Let's not say it's a political season and everybody's attacking everybody. Let's not do that, because there shines the mirror that should shine at the three of you when I sat at that seat, right? I took whatever you gave me, and I came back with the same information. My lens is different when I don't have my glasses on, but I'm willing to listen to what you have to say, how you present the facts. and information, and then bring it back to the people of Fishkill, because my only agenda is that the people of Fishkill are well taken care of. And if I can't prevent them from having mishap, then I will keep them informed so that they know that you should be making a right at this corner and not a left, because you're going to fall into a brick wall. So let's just try to live with each other. Let's respect one another. Let's use the same tone with each other regardless of our genders, because this is making me sad. It makes me sad at home to watch, and it makes me sad to sit here and watch, right? Let's stop the personal attacks. If there's question about people's abilities or lack thereof, let's figure it out, right? We're bringing it to the forefront. So whatever it is, let's just deal with it. But I'm telling you that this is not a facade for Ozzy. It's not a facade for Carmine, who he is. Not a facade for who Louise is. This is who the three people are that I've worked with. And I'm sure there are other people in this audience that probably can vouch for the other two board members, but that's not me. But I can vouch to their character and their consistency. And I can say that when you inherit other people's problems, you then have to learn how to first understand what it is, then process that, then try to deal with that. So you're in what I'm in for the last couple of years. And so the journey is a little tough, but I think you are closer to a breakthrough than I am with the people that I'm working with. So be patient, be consistent, and be vocal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gaston. Gentlemen, I told him first, sir. The guy, the gentleman in the green shirt, I told him he's next.
Sure.
Is that green? That's green.
Okay, that's fine. No, you just...
Stephen Powers, Fishkill Woods. We all thank Bridget for her diligence on this matter. I can attest to the safety of the chain of custody for the vote in this village, because I am your results courier. At 8:45 for the elections, I always show up downstairs. I was curious about the process. I watch what happens. There are 2 voting machines. The SD cards are taken out of the voting machines with witnesses. They are then printed out. With the printout and the SD cards, they are put in a sealed bag with a seal on it that I wouldn't be able to open up. You can only open up there. This year there was changed with the absentee ballots. Usually the New York State had the sheriff's office take those as well. This year they had the results courier bring the absentee ballots back up to the election headquarters up in Poughkeepsie like that. And I did it because I was curious, you know, how secure is this system? And there's lots of people around that watch what happens. I mean, I suppose it could be fraud, but it would be hard. There's a lot of redundancy built into this system. Now, I don't know what happened once I handed off to the people in the election headquarters. In fact, one thing that worries me a little bit is that when I have to give a receipt downstairs, so when they hand it back to me, the chain of custody is there. But when I go up to election headquarters, actually, when I hand the bag over, they don't give me a receipt. And I have brought that up to them saying, you know, if it gets lost, if you can't find it, are you sure you're not going to know if it was me that took it or somebody else? So it might be a good idea to do that. But as far as the security, the chain of custody, I feel really very safe about it.
Thank you very much for your comment, sir. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Michael Williams. I'm a lifelong resident of Fishkill Woods, meaning I've been associated with Fishkill Woods since it was a trailer at the bottom of the hill. That's when I first came to be in Fishkill Woods. Not in a trailer, but listening to the comments about leverage and what we're going to get out of toll makes me a little nervous, because I've been there from day one. And had I not been involved every single week with them, correcting errors that they made and getting them to repair things, and even withholding funds from closing until they did make certain repairs, we'll call them, we would never have been able to move in. After moving in, it was very, very difficult to get them to do anything at all. I'll give you an example. I had a foggy window in my terrace, right? And 18 months of them telling me, oh, we're coming out next week, we're going to send somebody out next week to survey, oh, we're going to do this next week, oh, the party's on order. 18 months to get one window replaced. So when I hear things like they're going to send somebody out and we're going to survey, we're going to do this and that and the other, I have the 18-month window in my head. So I'm getting the feeling that the board is a bit naive about dealing with toll. Had you been a resident in Fishkill Woods, you wouldn't accept this kind of next week, next month, we're sending somebody out. They've never made one date. Now, my wife isn't here tonight. She's out in the state of Colorado. And, but you don't want her to be up here. That's why I'm here. Because she's been on toll every week, okay, to do things. Now, we're not talking about repairs here. We're talking about code violations. So what is the penalty for a code violation, right? I have a younger brother who is head of code violations for the city of New York, all right? He has made more arrests and jailed more contractors and put more contractors out of business because of code violations. I don't see that kind of temperament here in this situation, right? I don't see, what I see is naivete. And I'm concerned that accepting whatever toll has to say and waiting for them to meet their word is going to represent an excessive delay. Now, I applaud Bridget for all of the work that she's done, but to hear somebody say, I didn't see the paperwork, is kind of disconcerting. You should all have copies of it. You should all have reviewed it. You should all be aware of what the issues are. And I'm a big supporter of you guys. So, I want you to take this as constructive criticism. We're talking about code violations, not repairs. So what is the penalty for a code violation? I know what my younger brother would do. What does this town board going to do? What does this town board have in the way of leverage to get this big behemoth of a construction company to meet up its word? That's it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Miss?
Yes, he said miss, yes.
Hi, Tanya Ann Ball, Sunrise Hill Road. So I have something just very quick to say, which is that Russ and Annette O'Malley, they're practically neighbours to me, very good people, and you're quite right, they do attend meetings here very regularly, and they're really committed to, what goes on in the town generally. But, it wasn't lost on me then that Herring Sanitation have been trying to develop the plot of land right next to the O'Malleys for many years now, and they've kind of got what they wanted. They're moving ahead, and all the trees have been cut down. And anyway, that is not what I'm going to talk about today, other than that I was at Nanette's house when there was rock hammering going on that the Herrings were doing. It was pretty deafening from Nanette's house, so I wasn't able to make it for the public hearing about the blasting earlier tonight. I just couldn't get here on time for that. But I realised that that's a positive thing, that you've passed this resolution, that people doing blasting, rock blasting, will be sort of liable for any damage at adjacent houses. But my question was, I don't know if there was anything in that resolution about the proximity to the blasting of people's residential houses. Like, how close can the blasting be that takes place? So when
but not in terms of charges.
Mr. Gabbard, can you speak into the mic?
In terms of notice, yes, but not in terms of setting a charge. The the strength of the charge is what's regulated depending on how close the proximity is to other development. So a lighter charge if you're closer, obviously if you're further away and you need a heavier one, you can, but the law itself does not impose any distance restriction as far as blasting goes. We rely upon the experts to come up with the proper strength of the charge.
Okay,
That's
thank you
nothing
for
to do with rock
explaining that.
hammering.
So there's no like minimum distance
There is not.
to somebody's house that you can do the blasting. So that was really my extreme concern, was just being in their house when this rock hammering was going on, which is like a big sort of caterpillar device that's like literally hammering into the ground. Their house was, it felt like it was shaking the house. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for them if and when rock blasting takes place at the herring site, particularly because they are like 20 feet away from where that is going to happen. So they also have a really unique basement cellar. I don't know if anybody took the time to visit the O'Malley's cellar over all these years that they've been trying to explain. It literally is like a cave under there because their house is like right on bedrock. There's almost like a waterfall that comes through this cellar when it rains. It's really interesting, but it's, you know, there's going to be blasting happening possibly 20 feet from their cellar. And okay, there might be liability for damage, but I just personally don't think it should be allowed to happen in the first place, because they're residents of the town, and I just don't feel like they've had really any protection from this sort of really over-encroaching of development right next to their homes. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you.
Meeting's over.
Next up is liaison member reports. Louise?
Okay, I'll do Carmine's too. Okay, liaison reports. On August 17th, I attended the planning board meeting. On August 21st, I attended the Village of Fishkill trustee meeting. For the rec center, on August 30th, I attended the seniors' daytime concert in the park luncheon, which was inside the rec center instead of Gearing because of the impending weather, which was a good choice because it was very humid that day. Everyone enjoyed sandwiches and potato salad made by Lauren and Marianne. The music was great. Stephanie and Charlie from the Bronx Expressway were there, and everyone was up singing, or everyone was up dancing, and especially Jay. On September 19th, 130 seniors will attend the first Feast of San Gennaro event at the Rec Center. It will have great Italian food and entertainment. Next week is a trip to Kingston for lunch at Savannah's, and then a cruise down the Hudson. They added a second date because the trip was so popular. Later that night, on the 21st, I attended a concert in the park at Gearing. It was a country trio band, which I thought was very good, Raquel and the Wildflowers, an acoustic trio. On August 27th, I attended the Lafayette ceremony at Roundabout Rural Cemetery, celebrating 125 years of Lafayette Monument in Fishkill. We had the honor of listening to many speakers, but the highlight was the Deputy Consul General of France, Damien Laban. He came up from New York City for the ceremony. The best part was afterwards, when we received a tour of the Brinkerhoff Inn from the owner, and we were shown the room where Lafayette stayed to heal while Washington invited him to stay there. We were also treated to a delicious brunch, and the supervisor and I had the honor of getting to know the French Deputy Consul General on a personal level during brunch, and the entire morning was actually very memorable for myself. I've been checking in on Brandon and the guys in the building and grounds department as they have been working hard on painting the blacktop with colorful paint for the sensory playground. Finishing touches are almost done, and we look forward to announcing soon when it will open to the public. Carmine and I have also made sure that the contractor followed up on the tiles around the equipment to make sure everything is safe when we open it. I have actively been engaged with Ken from the management company from Dogwood Apartments off of 9D. The supervisor asked me to follow up after the meeting we had where myself, former Councilmember Kenya Gadsden, and the supervisor attended. I enlisted the help of Carmine, who can tell you himself when he speaks that he went there and reviewed everything with Ken and suggested solutions to the issues that need to be resolved for us to move forward. We'll be in touch with him again in the future. He actually just sent me an email today and will advise us when he completes what you asked him to complete, Carmine. And Let's see. Here's the part where the council members have turned the liaison reports into just talking about where they have been since the last meeting. So here are mine. On August 22nd, I attended a Renegades game. On August 24th, I attended the wake of a very special hometown hero, Mr. Paul Williams, in Washingtonville with his family and neighbors who were like his family, and he will greatly be missed. On August 26th, I attended another Renegades game. That was the Veterans Night. The stadium was packed with veterans, including my season pass holder hero friends, Vinny and Joe. Supervisor Albra, who was also a veteran, joined me at the end of the game. And last night, September 5th, Supervisor Albra joined me again at the Renegades game because this was the Fishkill Serves Night, where everybody brought food donations for the food pantry. Thank you to Eddie Colon and all the volunteers from the food pantry. I suggested to Eddie next year that they potentially pick a different night, possibly the night where all the Boy Scouts come, because there weren't really a lot of many people there last night. So I told him I would look into that for him. September 1st, I attended my son's first varsity football game at John Jay High School, which I was very proud of. And today was the first day of school, so I hope all the kids will be safe and have a maskless year of school. And a constituent also reached out to me and said she received the State of the Town packet, and she read it cover to cover, and it made her feel so good, and her heart felt good. So great job to Supervisor for your listening tour. Everybody is enjoying it. Thank you.
Carmine.
Okay. Just quick updates. Thanks for everybody for coming and everybody that's watching. Van Pelt Park, we have a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Discuss about paving the park. It's almost finished. The bridge is complete, but we're the county's removing the old bridge. And also Petticoat Lane, which goes into Glenham School. Unfortunately, everybody that's listening, it's not going to be ready until between the 15th and the 21st. There's one way in and one way out, and I know congestion with the parking is an issue, but the county affirmed that they'll be having that completed between the 15th and 21st. That's Petticoat Lane. Doug Phillips Park, Councilwoman...
Talk about the deck.
Oh. The deck. So we're budgeting for next year. We ripped down the old deck. We expanded the landings, so there's a little bit access to the creek. If somebody wants to bring a canoe or fishing, we're budgeting in the budget that's everybody's going to see soon, putting a brand new deck in. So it's going to look beautiful. The park's going to be beautiful.
What else were you saying? Doug Phillips?
Oh, so yeah, Doug Phillips. The Century Park, it's almost done. Everybody's been working hard on it. So we had 2 floods in the meantime. But it's looking great. Everything is beautiful, coming together. It's really looking nice. Moving on to the rec roof. We're still working with the vendor to try to finalize putting the overlay on the rec roof. We're keeping our fingers crossed. If we don't hear something in the next couple of weeks, we might have to delay it to next year, unfortunately. The railings at the rec center, we picked a contractor. We're going to move on that within the next 2 weeks. So that's good for all the seniors. All the railings will be installed very soon. Moving on to, we talked about the Lafayette dedication. Greg and I, Tortino, we went over and set up the display of how we're actually going to do the events. It was great being part of that. Unfortunately, I could not participate during that day, but it was actually great to see the video and everybody enjoying it. Over at Gehring Park, the resurface of the tennis courts and the pickleball, I know everybody's anticipating that. Unfortunately, the vendor that we picked has not been responding, so we went to the number 2 vendor. The number 2 vendor wants to do it, but they're not sure if they can get it to this year. So we might have to encumber that money and move forward to next spring. But something I told our consultants that make sure that we're on the agenda or on the schedule for next spring, not next August, September again.
So how many pickleball courts we got in Gehring, and how many we got next to the Century Park?
So Century Park, we're hoping for 4. That's the goal. And we're 2 over at Gehring Park with tennis courts.
Excellent.
And last, something we need to make sure we budget T-ball, which is about a $6,000.
Remind me that tomorrow. I'll put it in the budget.
And that's all I have for now.
John?
Okay, Thursday, August 17th, attended the planning board meeting. On Saturday, the 19th of August, I attended the Blodgett Library Carnival at Sarah Taylor Park. And on Saturday, August 27th, Attended Sunday, August 27th. I also attended the De Lafayette ceremony. Had a meeting with several department heads, including the police chief and the controller, in addition to a meeting with the town clerk, all relating to the 2024 budget. I had a constituent who recently lost her husband a couple months ago. She's having issues with the VA regarding a death benefit that's being held up. So I drove over to Newburgh to meet with Congressman Patrick Ryan's office. They handed me a form to fill out, drove back to Fishkill, got the form filled out, drove back to Newburgh, handed it in, and I am very sure that Congressman Ryan's office is going to take care of these people. And in the middle of all that, I managed to squeeze in a day to help my daughter move into her dorm at Siena College.
Good news. She's happy? Yep. Good. Brian?
And a wonderful daughter she is. And just an update from the Highway Department. Everybody over there is working very hard. I want to personally thank their diligence, their dedication to work, and their understanding that the taxpayers are our boss. And with that, I will say that during the season, they have refurbished or refinished. I know I'm not the expert like Carmine is, but they worked on Givens, Magnolia, Wildwood, Greenwood, Fun, May, Cherry, Ackland, Ward, Penny, Mountain View, Snook, Cary, Capitol. These are the capital roads that have been paved. They backfilled behind curbs with topsoil and grass, seed as necessary on Greenwood, 4,700 feet of pipe and 45 new basins. Snook, 700 feet of pipe and 4 catch basins. Snook, evidently additional 35 feet of arch pipe. Westview, 300 feet of pipe and 6 catch basins are going to be done. They've repaired a lot of basins in various roads. They've done roadside mowing in various roads. They've done sign repairs as needed, and they've done Vector to clean several basins, one of which is 2, maybe 3 on my street, which is really good because we got some backed up issues. So my congratulations to Superintendent Schofield and the team over there doing a great job for the town. I also attended the Blodgett Library Carnival. Julie at Blodgett Library needs just, you know, she's just a constant giver and a wonderful person. And, you know, here again, she created an event for people in the community and knocked it out of the park, and it was just delightful. The Lafayette Memorial, I had somewhat, not a lot of involvement with Arnold Restivo, our town historian who conceived of this event, and my congratulations to him once again. It came off beautifully. I know Greg, who's not here, did a lot of aid in organizing. I suggested that we invite the county exec O'Neill, and he did attend as well, and he was delighted with the town of Fishkill and the event. And Deputy Consul General LeBon to New York was really a terrific individual, there's no doubt about it. And it's really, as I understand, a major thing for someone of that caliber as a with a consulate to be able to travel a distance from where they are assigned to work. So in diplomatic terms, it was a big deal for him to be here, and so that was really nice. Yes, Fishkill serves, the games are assigned by the Renegades, so that's what they gave this year is that date, and I knew it was going to be extremely hot, and that's too bad. This is the second year, and the year that the pantry was fully in charge, and I know that they did a fantastic job, and I was glad that they were fully in charge because my work requirements took me out of the area for the day. I do want everyone to know that on 9/11 we will have our 9/11 ceremony, and it will be at the memorial by the police station, and we are going to have police department representatives there, some officers. Virgil, with our Veterans Committee, has asked veterans to attend, so we look forward to seeing some veterans. And our Fishkill cadets, police cadets will be there as well. It'll be a small little ceremony, but it'll be the town of Fishkill paying respect and homage to that those who lost their lives on that horrible day.
9:30.
9:30. Sorry about that. 8:30 is the village. So we'll go to the village at 8:30, and then we'll hustle back for 9:30 for ours. That's what I have.
Thank you, Brian.
Supervisor, if you don't mind, I forgot to say thank you to Brian and Brandon, because they set up the Lafayette event. They came, that was a Sunday morning, and also to Carmine. I believe he did everything with the bushes and made it nice, even though he couldn't attend. It was very nice that he did that and helped organize it as well.
Yes, Carmine did a beautiful job out there.
Thank you. Just real quick about the 9/11 Memorial Day. The ladies of the Vora Plant Garden Club have done a great job beautifying that area. I look forward to seeing them there on 9/11. It's the second year in a row that we did something regarding history. Last year, we dedicated the Chief Neyman Monument. This year, we rededicated a monument to Lafayette. There's so much history in the town of Fishkill that has been neglected for decades, and we're bringing it back. And we're going to have a great ceremony for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I want to make it a year-long event where we highlight our history 1 month at a time, leading to a massive parade going from Town Hall all the way past the Indian with fireworks at Giver Park. So that's what I envision for the future, and a continuing push of our rich historic history in the town of Fishkill. So that's what I have for supervisor comments. Now we'll go on to discussions. The first one will be number 1 and 2 will be about these Booth Boulevard lighting. While I was on my listening tour, I spoke to a bunch of people. Only 3 out of like 40 people wanted it, so we need to close both of those out. Close 1 and 2 out. Next up is discussion of Fishkill Little League lights. We still need to wait to see how much the interconnection from Bickerhoff to Toll is going to cost. If it's around 1.12, 1.3, we might be able to do the lights, so let's table this to like December. Next up is discussion of the Roundabout Rural Cemetery Association funding request. They asked for $1,500. I believe everybody's okay with that. It's on consent?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Next up is discussion of resolution authorized preparation of shared service agreement with the Village of Fishkill for striping. Louise, you got any update on that?
It's what I previously said. I spoke to the mayor. She's looking for a dollar amount. She told me that I believe Dean had it from the highway. I think you had contacted the highway, and we're waiting for a number back from them.
All right.
I thought we had agreed to a max of 10,000.
We agreed to spend up to 10.
We don't know what it actually will cost.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, I hear a lot of complaints
Yes.
about that intersection. It's very dangerous. So I look forward
That's-
to this getting done.
So,
That's one of our major complaints.
Suggestion, do we just tell the village, since we're donating funds to their roads, that they get the price, they do the due diligence, and then give us the estimate?
Nah.
It's their roads.
Are we allowed to stripe on another, well, we pave the roads for the village, right? Who does
No, we plow the roads.
We plow the roads.
You
So-
can enter into an agreement with another municipality to out and out gift them things. Shared services is more common than cash, obviously. You would want to know before you agree to stripe roads, at least in the ballpark, what the cost is going to
Yeah.
be, though. You don't want to just say,
Well,
you got
what's-
up to $10,000, because it's got a pretty good idea where it's going to come in.
Yeah,
if you do that.
9999. But what happens is by the Walmart, by Panera Bread, if you go up that road, it's in the village and then it goes into the town of Fishkill with about 1,000 residents living in the town of Fishkill. They go through it every day. So you can see the dilemma.
Yes,
So-
you want to get it.
So we want to get that.
So you got to get that price.
So, who, do we get the price, or do we have the village get the price?
Do it either way. Put out a
So
request
we-
for proposals. and come
Yes,
up with
with
a-
what's going on here, we're talking in circles.
Yes.
So we need to dedicate right now, who is going to be the liaison or the person to get the pricing?
Thank you, Carmine.
Okay.
I nominate Conran.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Done. Thank you, Carmine.
Everybody takes a step back.
All right, so we tabled,
Except one.
number 6, when you want to revive that? December?
We were saying second meeting in October.
Second meeting, second
Wait,
meeting in October for
what are we
number
doing?
6.
But what are we doing for number 5? Are we tabling that?
Close it.
Close
Well,
it?
Close it.
then we have to
Carmine.
find out. I would say table.
That'll be a vote to accept it, so close that out.
Okay.
Carmine's on it, he'll get it done. Number 7, discussion of resolution authorized modification of 2023 highway DA budget for auction proceeds. We got some money back, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Number 8, discussion of resolution to set the tentative 2024 town board meeting schedule. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next up is discussion of 2024 holiday schedule. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next up, 10, discussion of resolution to waive 30-day hold on a liquor license for Papaya Bowling. Everybody okay with that?
They're actually going to do another bowling alley, right?
I think
That's what
the
Joel
bowling
said,
alley is
yeah.
going to be saved.
Yay.
It's
Okay.
not going to become
That's cool.
Yeah, so we had 2 bowling alleys.
Yeah.
One became a Guardian Self-Storage, and the other one passed the Little League field. They were talking about making an office park, and the new buyers are going to restore it and keep it a bowling alley.
Yeah.
So Fishkill will retain its bowling alley.
Yay.
That's good.
So yes, they get special treatment. All right.
No, they get their.
Number
numbers.
10, discussion, number 11 is discussion resolution to authorize letter to Public Service Commission regarding the utility rate hike. I wrote a letter. I'd like to get all the board members on board so I can send it up as a Town of Fishkill board thing. You guys okay with that?
Of course.
Yes.
All right. Next up, number 12, discussion to appoint Ethan, the young 16-year-old man that came here to be a rec assistant. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Next up, discussion of resolution to declare a police vehicle as a surplus. We got a patrol car, a patrol SUV, and a 1990-something emergency service vehicle back there. Everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Yes.
Next up, 14, discussion of resolution for order of the town board calling for a public hearing on consolidation expansion of the Dutchess Park Sewer District. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Ozzy, in regard to that, if I could,
Yes.
please?
Absolutely.
This one and the resolution regarding the Brinkerhoff Water District, what we're doing is a district consolidation. You have, thank you. You have the existing district, and then you have a number of nearby smaller districts, usually in developments, a few outside users. And so what we're doing is we're cleaning up the boundaries
Thanks,
and making consolidating a district. Now, you need to hold a public hearing on it, which I presume you're going to schedule tonight, and then you'll adopt an order consolidating the district. It's going to be done in relatively short order as far as that goes. Having said that, you don't want to entertain applications for new outside users or extensions of the district while you're considering it, because if you do, you're going to have a moving target as to what the boundaries of the district are. In other words, now we know everybody who we're bringing in, but if you were to accept a new application for another outside user, and I don't think there are any pending to expand the district, but
There's nothing.
just make sure that none are on the agenda between now and the next meeting when we hold the public hearing on this and adopt the order, because you don't want to have somebody, you consolidate the district and there's one more person outside it.
Got it.
So the board should be cognizant of that and not accept any more applications for outside users or district expansions until this has been completed.
Excellent. All right. Discussion. Everybody okay with number 15, the resolution for it? 14 and 15 are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different districts.
16, discussion of Little
So
Red.
can I just make a point? I mean, I talked to Paul Bozak and Joe Joseph about this. This is grant money. This is paperwork. This is not physical going out and making connections. This is money that came from the state because they wanted these water districts to be united to basically make it simpler for billing. Isn't that correct? And this money has to be used up by March of 2024, and they're well underway with Rombaugh Sewer. Isn't this correct? There are several that are going to be done.
There are a number that'll be being presented to the board. We're preparing the paperwork on them, but you're absolutely right, Brian. This is not a district expansion in the sense of any new users, any new infrastructure. This is all people who are already receiving water and sewer, and obviously Brinkerhoff's water and Dutchess Park is sewer, from pretty much the same source. They're all going to be put into a single district. It'll make billing easier. It'll make your administrative work easier. And as you point out, it's not going to cost the town anything. You have grant money for it.
Right, and each one of these is going to have plenty of money, even the ones depending of water, as they do now, even one. There's one that is in constant discussion on not adequate, but there's millions of gallons that are available. And that's a fact. And that is documented, so it is a fact.
Oh, my gosh.
Mr.
Gabba, no, I mean, this is just a baby districts, that's what they called it. So Mike from CAMO explained it to me when I first came on the board, that they call them baby districts. So Deer Crossing, Avionis, Who's Boulevard, all those other ones, for some reason, they didn't put them into one district. So that's all we're doing, is making them all become one district. Is that correct?
On these two, yes.
These, yes, yes. Thank
So
you.
the one will be the Dutchess Park Sewer, and one will be the Brickcroft Water. Next up will be discussion of the Loretta Schoolhouse property. A lot of people want us to do something with it. Spoke to Mr. Gaba earlier. We really don't know who owns it. Is there an interest of looking into it, to see if we can acquire it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, do we,
Doesn't the state own it?
Oh, my God. Can I say something?
But if the state owns it, we can't.
I understand
We
that.
went through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nobody that has ownership of it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this like a year and a half ago or so. Went up to the clerk's office, and there is no deed. I don't want to move forward with it. I think we have enough projects in our town. I really want to finish up our sensory playground, the park, the pickleball courts, the new playground, or the new park we're going to put near Dogwood. So I don't think this is the right time for this. And I don't want to expend more money on it.
If you can acquire it for free, why not?
yeah, I mean, I'd do $1.
No, I'm not
It's
saying
not gonna
acquire.
cost $1.
Well, no. I'm asking, listen, Mr. Gaba might come back next meeting and say, the state does own it, too bad, and that's the end of it. But we don't know who owns it.
We already looked into this.
Well, the best thing for you would be if the state owned it, because I don't
Yeah,
think the
I
state
already
has a
looked
lot of
into
use for it. If you send a letter to the state, you can see who owns it on the assessor's cards, if nothing else.
Ozzy, I can
And-
give you the research from last year, because I went to the clerk's office. I mean, this is redundant, but I'll dig it out if you want me to, so we don't have to waste time and money
Yeah,
doing
but
it.
I'd like to see, listen,
There
the
isn't
stuff that we have going on
anything.
eventually is going to be over with, and then we have other projects in the queue. I'd like to put this in the queue to get this done.
All right, so
I'd like
I'll
to
dig
do
out this stuff and give it to you, so Mr.
So this
Gaba
could take
doesn't have
5
to
years down
redo
the
it.
road to get this done.
I have research that I can give you if I just have to find it, that is already done.
All right, can you give it to Mr. Gaba?
Yep,
And
I
Mr.
can.
Gaba, if you can make an analysis.
I'll take
And
a
if you
look
can
at it,
determine
sure.
who- If you can determine who owns it, maybe the state will give it to us. We don't know. The state doesn't. Can we do that, Louise?
No, they don't own it. Oh, you can do it. I don't want to
No,
do it,
you
but
give the
I'll do
information
it
to
for
Mr.
Mr. Gaba.
Gaba.
Yes, I will.
I'll let
I
him
just have to
analyze
find
it.
it, yeah.
All right.
Hey, Louise,
Yes.
what do you think, is there any, you've done a lot of work on this, a
Yeah.
lot of research. Is there any value in us having this? I mean, what's your sense if we got it for nothing? What would we do?
Well, I don't think anything's for free, so I think that, the park that he wants near Dogwood, that's something that we're doing, so that has to be maintained. Every time we acquire something else, yeah, it's great, it's a part of history, but it's something else that has to be maintained, taken care of.
Right.
And I think I know the supervisor's grand vision of building a replica of the schoolhouse, if I'm not
what I
mistaken,
would
which
like to
is
do.
not going to cost $1. It's going to cost a lot more than $1. So,
Well, that's a lot of money.
yeah.
Listen, the schoolhouse is only 800 square feet big. It's not big. 4-inch slab, prefab building, you're done.
And then do what with it?
We'll do something with it.
Yeah?
Maybe dedicate
Move
a
you
senior
there.
center. What's that, move me in? I would like to have my own room. You too, right? All right, so just give
It could
Mr.
be your
Gaba.
office. It could be Carmine's office.
Like Carmine work out?
No, Carmine's office.
Carmine's office.
Little schoolhouse.
The Western Highway Department.
I'll
Are
look
you done?
into it for him,
All right.
yeah.
So Greg, I'm sorry, Cooper, put this in for second December meeting.
Okay.
Next up, discussion to, resolution to amend the fee schedule for building, planning, fire, and zoning department. That's water meters, right, Louise?
Yeah, so I just want to thank Joel and Sharon for just resolving a couple of issues that I had questions with. And then I spoke to Mike Tremper, and Joel worked with Greg today just to slightly revise it, so I'm fine with the way it's revised and ready to move forward with it. So I guess when we come to, it has to be just done as amended. These are just the new prices of the meters, because when we put them in, they cost less, so now we don't want to lose money putting new meters in moving forward. So Joel is giving us the updated price of what the meters and the transmitters will cost moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Privilege of the floor for agenda items only. Okay. Next up is consent agenda. I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
First resolution will be resolution adopting the ethics disclosure form.
Table that? Can we make a motion to table that to the next meeting?
Yes, my apologies. 9 what?
20.
920. Number 2, resolution to adopt local law amending Chapter 15 of the Code of Town of Fishkill, Ethics Code. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill has before it a proposal, local law entitled Local Law Amending the Town Code of the Town of Fishkill, Chapter 60, I'm sorry. Whereas the town resolutions with our local law amending Chapter 15 of the Code for the Town of Fishkill Ethics Code, ID number 8835, whereas the town board has before it consideration a local law entitled, "A Local Law to Amend the Town Code of the Town of Fishkill, Chapter 15, Ethics Code of," to add a new section 15-3I, requiring elected officials of the Town of Fishkill to complete ethics disclosure forms, and whereas the following due notice, the town board held a public hearing on the proposed law, now therefore be resolved as follows, that the town board hereby adopts the above local law, and number two, that the said local law shall be effective upon publication, posting, and filing in the office of the Secretary of the State in Albany. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next up is the blasting law. Resolution adopting a local law amending the town code provisions regarding blasting, Resolution 2023-215, whereas the town board of the Town of Fishkill has before the proposed local law entitled, "A Local Law Amending the Town Code of the Town of Fishkill, Chapter 65, Explosive and Combustibles, to repeal and reenact the chapter to revise certain provisions therein regarding the terms and conditions under which blasting activity is conducted in the town," and whereas the town board has duly introduced the said local law and has held a public hearing upon it, now therefore it be resolved as follows. Number one, the town board has hereby approved the said local law, and number two, that the town clerk shall send a copy to the same to the Office of Secretary of State and post notice adoption of the moratorium of the town's website and the bulletin board. And our bulletin board. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up is resolution to amend the fee schedule
As amended.
as amended. Now therefore be resolved, the town board as follows. Section 1, all whereas paragraphs of corporation herein reference are set forth in full. Section 2, the town board hereby amends the town fee schedule for the building, planning, fire, and zoning department attached here to, and directs the town clerk to prepare an update fee schedule for posting. Section 3, this resolution shall be effective immediately. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There's no items of special consideration. New and old business. Brian, you got anything?
I don't at this particular time.
John?
Oh.
Carmine?
Good.
Louise?
I got two. For new business, for the next meeting, I'd like to bring up a discussion regarding creating a letter to give to the Village of Fishkill Planning Board at their next public hearing on the matter of the apartment complex at Jackson and Main. Whoever is in agreement can sign or not sign, just as we did with the controversial Church of the Nazarene project a couple of years ago. Although this may be allowed in their code, it is a broader transparency issue, and I hear the people, and I have no problem asking the planning board, at least to see if they'll be willing to do something to rectify it or make it smaller. Let's see. Yeah, because they asked for issues regarding traffic and the size of the project, to see if they're open to trying to find a better solution than what they have planned. I'm sure Councilmember Rye will join me. As he said at the last meeting, he thinks it is also way too big. So if I can have a discussion at the next meeting.
Well, first you have to get a second to put it on the agenda. So
I'm
ask for a second for someone
I'm
to
asking for a
support
second for that discussion.
that. Ask for a second.
I'm asking for a second.
Anybody going to give her a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg, make sure that's on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, for old business, so for Carmine, I just want to ask if you can bring up the old discussion that you had regarding the merger of the highway and buildings and grounds, and just update us further on the pros and cons of it, and just give a little background, because I know, like you and I have spoken, that I was for it, but I'm a little concerned, and I think I just want everybody to understand what it actually will entail, so if you can do that.
If I can.
Yeah.
What I'll do is in the 9:20 meeting, Greg, if we put what we started working on, the discussion and potential resolution for merger of the buildings and grounds, and why I believe would be a great idea for the town to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you and I can meet to finalize those documents and make sure they're presented the way that you'd like them presented.
Yes, and I'm going to really concentrate on buildings and grounds, not really talk about the highway, but it will affect the highway. I am not the highway super yet. I have to get elected in November. But I will discuss how that will be integrated. I'm going to say the word right. But
Integrated,
yeah, and how it would look as a structure. And I think that's important so everybody understands that it's very efficient the way I'm going to propose it to everybody.
Sounds good. I have one more thing. for old business regarding the tax collection fee. So I never thought I would be so happy to pay my school taxes, but yesterday I was. I was happy to pay our tax receiver, Catherine Bonetta, without a collection fee. This is something I've worked hard for years, since 2018, coming to meetings to have this fee removed. It was satisfying to know that those who pay school taxes to Wapner Central School District will no longer have to pay money to pay their taxes anymore. This is something that should never have been enacted by the previous administration. For those of you who pay taxes through your mortgage, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but if your mortgage is paid off and you pay the clerk, it was listed on your bill previously, right there. It used to say collection fee. It depended on how much you were paying in taxes. Mine, where was it? Mine was approximately $18 or so. For somebody else's business, it could have been hundreds of dollars. For someone who paid like much more money than that, it could have been in the thousands. So for myself, saving about the $18 is really a matter of principle, and for those of us on the board who actually pay taxes, and any money saved is appreciated, and I'm just really proud that we were all able to do this year.
All right.
Thank you.
Just again, 9/11 at 9:30. Hosted by Brian and me and the rest of the board. The Verplank Ladies Club did a great job. And please, residents, not only come to the meetings, come to our events. It's Lafayette, we had a packed house, and it felt good seeing everybody there. And it makes it worthwhile to continue doing these events. So let's keep up the momentum. Hopefully we see you on 9/11. God bless America. And our next town board meeting is on the 20th of this month. Thank you very much for watching.
Oh, we have to-